This is WVBN from Italy. The Regia Marina selected the Piaggio P-119 as the winner of its naval bomber competition for the new carrier Aquila. The aircraft had a long range and could carry a heavy armament, but did have several technical flaws to correct before it could be used on aircraft carriers. It was hoped that Bell assistance might help to correct these flaws. Unfortunately for the Regia Marina, the Regia Aeronautica objected to the procurement of these aircraft, as under Italian law, they had jurisdiction over all fixed-wing aircraft. While they were less upset than if the Regia Marina had worked with a company such as Fiat, Regione, or Macchi, they nevertheless objected that they were not consulted prior. The Regia Marina's political connections kept things from boiling over, but a solution would need to be found before more aircraft could be acquired for Aquila. Aquila herself continued work at a steady pace, with the finery and furnishings of the former cruise liner removed and returned to her former owners, while bells such as Archimedes and Hosho assisted in the more technical work required to fully enable Aquila to function as a carrier. Japanese technical experts assisted the Italians in the installation of critical technologies, and it was only a matter of time before Aquila was ready to launch aircraft. The Greater Balkan Neutrality Pact voted this week to standardize equipment without much resistance, to the surprise and relief of Italian command. What had been expected to be the most hotly contested issue turned out to be a relative non-issue, potentially due to the Italians foregoing a push to adopt the Italian Service rifle as a standard issue. Instead, standard ammunition rounds and artillery guns were mostly discussed, though no decision was finalized. Civilian efforts concerned railways between member nations, with agreements to standardize rail gauges to better facilitate transportation in the region. Greece and Turkey declined to participate, but this did not cause a great issue. The week's conference ended on an alarming note, as the Romanian representative delivered a Soviet ultimatum issued to the young nation: the return of the former Russian Bessarabia, and the assistance in dealing with the effects of the Morgana disease that had plagued the Danube. This ultimatum threatened both Romania and the integrity of the newly formed pact. The member nations defied expectations and unanimously agreed to stand against the Soviet aggression, and immediately set to work to prepare to defend against a Soviet invasion. The Morgana Alaria, a self-proclaimed Visigoth queen, invited Italian emissaries to join her for a feast aboard her ship. Onlookers observed that many unknown humans on board seemed to lack the markings of ones who had been brainwashed, coerced, or otherwise unwillingly serving Morgana, instead pledging loyalty for things such as wealth and power. Though the meeting with Alaria was conducted behind closed doors, the emissaries departed without incident and gave their full report to the military high command. The Italian naval contingent in Narvik observed that fear and tension was rising among all military personnel within the city. As there was still no immediate threat, several officers opted to document the goings-on within the city. Most contingents had settled in and were procuring or creating various alcohols of their respective cultures, and samplings were had all around. It was discovered that military intelligence was also flowing around the city, to and from various places and nations. Officers were alarmed to discover that Morgana salvage had somehow made its way into the city, and was being discreetly moved by Axis and allied forces. Said personnel were detained, confiscated, and harshly rebuked by Bari and their respective commanders, while the salvage was securely locked away to be delivered to INPF researchers in the future. The final observation made was that Italian, American, and Japanese officers had been coordinating and getting along the best, while also preparing Narvik to be defended if the need arose. Napoli, severely damaged by a recent battle, began preliminary repair work to get her ready to sail back to the Italian homeland by late April. Plans were drawn up to escort her home. Carabinieri held a war council to come up with ideas to capture a Morgana ghost ship, but none besides herself and her captain were able to come up with any decent ideas. Putting together a rough outline, they planned to strike the following week in the Aegean. Civil mobilization was ordered for all Italians over the age of 14, for both men and women, for civil-related tasks. Giuseppe Garibaldi, a descendant of the same freedom fighter, wrote to Mussolini a desire to reconcile with fascism and return to Italy from exile. This request was granted. Finally, in Narvik once more, the Italians spent time teaching their American and Japanese compatriots several songs while they spent their free time mingling and enjoying the time. This has been WVBN from Italy.